students, now I'm going to start with your first lesson, that is the last lesson. And before starting the chapter, let me explain. There are some expressions in the text. I would like to tell you the meaning of those expressions. As we come along, then we'll understand it much better. First one is in great dread of. In great dread of means with great fear of. Then we have in unison. In unison means all at once together. Then counted on means relied or depended on. Then we have a great bustle. A great bustle means excited activity and movement. Then we have thumbed at the edges. Thumbed at the edges means with pages worn out or soiled due to frequent handling. Then we have reproach ourselves with. Reproach ourselves with means criticize ourselves for. So these are the expressions which we are going to come when we are reading the chapter. Now I'll start with the chapter. I started for school very late that morning and was in great dread of a scolding. Now, in great dread of means with great fear of. Fear of what? Fear of scolding. Especially because Monsieur Hamel had said that he would question us on participles. So his teacher was supposed to ask him questions on participles. And I did not know the first word about them. For a moment, I thought of running away and spending the day out of doors. It was so warm, so bright. The birds were chirping at the edge of the woods, and in the open field back of the sawmill, the Prussian soldiers were drilling. Now, drilling means undergoing military training exercises. It was all much more tempting than the rule for participles, but I had the strength to resist and hurried off to school. When I passed the town hall, there was a crowd in front of the bulletin board. For the last 2 years, all our bad news had come from there. The lost battles, the draft, the orders of the commanding officer. And I thought to myself without stopping, what can be the matter now? So every time there was bad news on the bulletin board, so now he was just thinking, what can be the matter now? Then, as I hurried by as fast as I could go, the blacksmith, Washter, who was there, it's pronounced as Wachter. Wachter, who was there with his apprentice. Apprentice is a trainee. Reading the bulletin, called after me. Don't go so fast, Bub. You'll get to your school in plenty of time. Now here, Bub means a little boy. He's addressing him as a little boy. I thought he was making fun of me and reached Monsieur Hamel's little garden all out of breath. Now, usually when school began, there was a great bustle. Great bustle means excited activity. As I told you, excited activity and movement, which could be heard out in the street. The opening and closing of desks, lessons repeated in unison. In unison means, I told you, all at once, together. So the lessons were repeated in unison, very loud, with our hands over our ears to understand better. Usually children put their hands over ears so that they can hear their voice clearly and understand better. And the teacher's great ruler rapping on the table. Now rapping here, spelling is R-A-P-P-I-N-G. Rapping means to knock, sound of a rap or a knock. So that was on the table, but now it was all so still. But now what happened? It was all so still. I had counted on the commotion. I had counted means I had relied, I had depended on the commotion. The commotion means the agitated disturbance. Whatever the disturbance, usually the noises used to be there. So he depended on that he could enter the classroom quietly. But I had counted on the commotion to get to my desk without being seen. But of course, that day, everything had to be as quiet as Sunday morning. So everything was so still, so quiet, just like a Sunday morning. Through the window, I saw my classmates already in their places and Monsieur Hamel walking up and down with his terrible iron ruler under his arm. I had to open the door and go in before everybody. Now everything was still, so he had to enter the room with earlier, like it used to be when he was late, there was so much noise, he could easily go inside the class without being noticed. But now it was not like that. It was quiet as Sunday morning. So He had to enter now. I had to open the door and go in before everybody. You can imagine how I blushed and how frightened I was. How I blushed means here his face was red, his face turned red. It was caused by shame or embarrassment, we can say. Otherwise, it's due to shyness also. So here it is because of shame, embarrassment that he's late, and everybody will notice that. But nothing happened. Monsieur Himmel saw me and said very kindly, "Go to your place quickly, little Franz. We were beginning without you." I jumped over the bench, so the teacher did not scold him. And he jumped over the bench and sat down he says, I jumped over the bench and sat down at my desk. Not till then, when I had got a little over my fright, did I see. Now, over my fright means state of terror. He was so scared at that time. Did I see that our teacher had on his beautiful green coat, his frilled shirt, and the little black silk cap, all embroidered, that he never wore except on inspection and prize days. So then he noticed that his teacher was wearing his coat and frilled shirt and cap, and which he usually he used to wear that on inspections and prize days. Besides, the whole school seemed so strange and solemn. Solemn means deeply serious. But the thing that surprised me most was to see on the back benches that were always empty, the village people sitting quietly like ourselves. Old Hauser with his three-cornered hat, the former mayor, the former postmaster, and several other besides. Everybody looked sad, and Hauser had brought an old primer. Now, what is a primer? Primer over here is an elementary book for teaching children to read. So he had brought that along with him. Thumbed at the edges, as I told you, that with pages worn out or soiled due to frequent handling, and he held it open on his knees with his great spectacles lying across the pages. While I was wondering about it all, Monsieur Himmel mounted his chair and, in the same grave and gentle tone — grave means serious, and gentle tone — which he had used to me, said, "My children, this is the last lesson I shall give you. The order has come from Berlin to teach only German in the schools of Alsace and Lorraine. The new master comes tomorrow. This is your last French lesson. I want you to be very attentive." What a thunderclap these words were to me. When Franz heard these words, so he says, what a thunderclap these words were to me. Thunderclap means a crashing sound of thunder. Oh, the wretches! That was what they had put up at the town hall. Wretches means the villains, the people deserving contempt. They had put up that at the town hall, on the bulletin board. My last French lesson. Now he's thinking about that. My last French lesson? Why? I hardly knew how to write. I should never learn anymore. I must stop there then. Oh, how sorry I was for not learning my lessons, for seeking birds' eggs, or going sliding on the going sliding on the Saar. Saar is the river in northeastern France and western Germany. And he says, my books that had seemed such a nuisance a while ago, so heavy to carry, my grammar and my history of the saints, were old friends now that I couldn't give up. And Monsieur Himmel too. The idea that he was going away, that I should never see him again, made me forget all about his ruler and how cranky he was. Poor man. It was in honor of this last lesson that he had put on his fine Sunday clothes. And now I understood why the old men of the village were sitting there in the back of the room. It was because they were sorry, too, that they had not gone to school more. It was their way of thanking our master for his 40 years of faithful service and of showing their respect for the country that was theirs no more. So we'll do the explanation till here. So we can see that the people everybody was there. They knew that that was the last day for their French class, and from the next day, German will be taught to them, and so everybody was